some consideration, some general consideration about the job inclusion, and also I want to give you some ideas, some reflection that came from the Italian experience. I think it's important to give a premise. In Italy nowadays there are about 25,000 adult people living in Italy, and so the problem of all the needs of the adults and of job inclusion for us is very, very important. And facing the job issue means acknowledging their being grown up. This is the first premise that we have to put in the center. If you don't see the people as an adult, you cannot speak in a correct way about job inclusion. Because if you see the people as an eternal child, you offer some occupation, but not a job inclusion, okay? And so this is very important. Another important premise for me is that there is no job inclusion without vocational training, but training, and after I explain better, is not just learning specific tasks. When we look to the world of adult people, there are three different ways in which you can look to this world. Never-ending childhood, false self, that means propensity to sticking identification, to imitate normal behavior, or you can see the adult people with intellectual disability like simple people, sometimes very simple, but not children anymore. This is a way in which you look to them and that guide you in the work. Another very, very important aspect is the aspect of the social role. When we go to speak about future men and women, we must tackle with the role problem, because the role is what regulates the human relations. Acquiring a role means acquiring behavioral rules which can be learned by the youngster just in case he or she knows what the others are expecting from him. We have to work in the training about the topic of the role, because if you accept and you identify in a social role, in a worker role, it's easier to understand what is your role in the life. And this is the reason for what I distinguish learning a work and learning to work. That are two different concepts that are important in the training of the people with intellectual disability. Learn a work means acquiring certain operational capabilities regardless of goal and motivation. It means that I acquire the ability to cook this plate without the sense of this ability. Learning to work, it means acquire a mindset, a way of understanding the world. It means introspect the role, take on rights and duties, recognize the role of the other. This is the most important aspect for me of job inclusion, because if the people are not able to understand what is their role on the job placement, if they don't understand what kind of relation they have to the different colleagues, understand the leadership, if they don't understand that they have the rights and duties, is very, very difficult to include in job placement. We have seen in our experience that every time that we have found a problem on the job is not a problem of tasks, is always a problem of role. And so in the training, this aspect must be very, very clear. And also the action that we do in preparing people to job inclusion and in accompanying people that stay in internship must be connected with the aspect of learning to work. When I speak of job placement, women getting a real job function through support and mediation actions within a market production context. This is job inclusion in the market. In Europe, we have seen also in our research that we have different situations. We have the shelter workshop, we have the supported employment without wage, we have the supported employment with wage subsidy, in which the state pay a part, for example, of the salary, and there is the supported employment with the normal wage. These are the different level of job inclusion in Europe. In Italy, we have two options: the job placement in the open market and the social firm, the cooperatives. The social cooperatives are enterprise that provide goods and services aimed at job placement of disadvantaged groups. There are small enterprises with at least 30% of their workforce with disadvantages. They have fiscal benefits and they have quotas within calls for tenders. And so they have some more opportunity of a normal enterprise in some situation. Obviously that the social cooperatives not work only with people with disability, but also with other categories that have problem to be included in the job placement. When we speak about the job inclusion in the open market, the focus of our law and the focus of our strategies is on targeted employment. That means the right person for the right place, in other words. And the law describe this like the series of technical and support instruments which allow to adequately value disabled people working abilities and to introduce them in the right workplace through workplace analysis, support forms, positive action and solution to the problems connected to the different environments, instruments and interpersonal relationship on daily working and social place. So there is a concept, right person for the right place, and there is some instrument. The most important, the basic instrument is this one. The introduction of this concept, principle. There is a balanced distribution of the quota system among employers because the percentage change with the dimension of the enterprise. But there is also some obligation over the 15 employees. The use of agreement as a tool. Agreement is a kind of agreement that the enterprise can use to train the person before the contract, according with the obligation of the law. The agreement is, in Italian, we know, Convenzione di Integrazione Lavorativa. That means it's an agreement between the enterprise, the people with intellectual disability, and the training center, in which, for example, we decide that before contract, this person can stay 6 months, at maximum 2 years, in internship in the same enterprise, finalized to the contract.
Is he paid this time?
In the internship, pay the enterprise according with the law for the internship. Mm-hmm. In Italy, all the people that are in internship receive an amount. It's not a salary, but it's an amount of money. Also, if you have not disability, it's a general law. There are some financial facilitation according to the disability degree of the work hired. That means some less taxes for the enterprise and other kind of facilitation. And there is a specific national and regional funding for program of job inclusion. These are the most important concept. For the people with Down syndrome, we have seen that for us the most important concept is the right person to the right place. The facilitation that we have in our law for those employers who hire people with intellectual disabilities, because they receive more facilitation that the employers that assume people with physical disabilities. This is to push the enterprise to assume, because in the past law, the majority of the enterprise try to assume people with problem of view, physical problem, and not assume intellectual disability. Another aspect is the aspect of the small enterprise. In this law, there is the vacancies of place also in small enterprises, and sometimes overall in the south of Italy is easier this one, because there is not big enterprise, and so the market that can accept people with intellectual disability is more large. And another aspect are the agreement. When we speak with the enterprise, there is, we have seen also in the survey, some resistance to include the people with intellectual disability. So the possibility to make this agreement of training before the contract can help the enterprise to change this opinion over this person, and at the same time to train the person directly on the job, and so to obtain better results in the inclusion. These are the principles that help us in including people with Down syndrome. In the experience of AIPD, in Italy there is not a census of workers with Down syndrome, but the number of practices and experiences is increasing. Also, if the number of those who have a job is lower than that of all those who could get it. We have done 4 years ago a research, and we have found that the 13% of adult people who are in contact with the Italian Down Association works with a regular contract. But in the last year is increasing. Only last year, only in AIPD, we have followed 131 internship, and we have signed 38 new contracts. AIPD is spread in Italy, but this is a big number. It's not a small number of internship and contract. The most part of the workers with Down syndrome has got a permanent part-time employment contract. The choice of part-time is our choice. We propose the part-time of 20-25 hours for 3 reasons. One reason is that people with Down syndrome can be more productively in a part-time. The second reason is that the enterprise can absolve to the obligation if as a person with 20-25 hours, and are more happy to have a person with part-time and to absolve the obligation at the same time. The third reason is that not only the people with Down syndrome working a part-time have the possibility to reach the place by public transportation, to have a little bit of time for the free time, but also receive some facilitation in pension. Because there is a law about the possibility to receive the pension of the parents when they died, that is compatible with the work if you work less than 25 hours. Okay, and so is a strategy choose for the part-time. It's not a renounce. Is a real strategy. We have seen in our experience that work organization is much more important than the kind of job. It's not important the kind of job, because obviously the kind of job is also connected with the characteristic of the market. Obviously that in the northeast of Italy there are more industries. In Rome, for example, there are more possibilities to work in the services. And so it's not the kind of job, but the organization of the job that can be resumed in this concept: simple and well-organized tasks, well-defined role, considering the worker as such. These 3 concepts are very, very important. For example, we started in the beginning of the 90s with job inclusion in McDonald's. And we have seen that it responds exactly to this concept, because in McDonald's you have always, for each position, well and structured tasks. Every person that work in McDonald's have a place in which there are described all the activity and the role of the people that stay. For example, in the fryers is different from the role that is in drinks and things like this. And it's also very easy to distinguish the hierarchy for the uniform that is different. And normally they consider the worker as such. After the first 8 insertion in McDonald's, we have done with McDonald's an evaluation of productivity of the people that we have included, using the same system that they use normally for the people without disability. And we have found that the productivity of the people with Down syndrome is between 60% and 80%. That is very high, also for a person without intellectual disability, because the concept of the right person in the right place permits to express the maximum of your productivity. Obviously, in the process of job inclusion, we have 3 different actors. There is the workers, there is the family, and there is the company. And we have structured a job inclusion program for our association, in which we have defined all the necessary actions that are necessary for a job inclusion program. One action, some of these actions are action of information, some are consulting action, and some are action of accompanying. Is very important the information and awareness raising of employers. Is important at the same time the information to the families and to people with Down syndrome about rights. The people must know that is a right and not a pleasure to have a job placement. And there are rights and duties obviously connected with this one. We work with the families in consciousness raising about the meaning of getting a job and be adult people. We work about this also before the job inclusion in adolescence and in the adult life, but it's very important, because if the family don't consider these people as an adult and go to the owner of the shop and say, oh please, he is very tired because he was at television, please give him a small work, is destroying the image of this person as workers. Or if the family take the salary and give pocket money to the youngster, destroy the image of a worker. So we work a lot with the family in group and individual dialogue about these topics. We organize an educational path of the youngster with Down syndrome in the comprehension of their role as workers. Learning to work, not learning a work. We work a lot about this topic. We have organized some instrument and a program for this one that we do in a different way. We have also published last year a book in the chain of our book for the people with intellectual disability about the topic of the work. If you want, if you have time, I can show some face and the program. After we work with the candidate, designing with them the personal profiles and curricula, that after we introduce to the enterprise that offer the possibility to include people with intellectual disability, and support in the contacts with the employers. It means that we sensitize the enterprise. When an enterprise decides that they want to try, we prepare some curricula for the people that could be introduced to this enterprise, and if it's necessary, we accompany them to the interview. And we help also the company to study the characteristic of the contract or the project for the agreement with the Office for Job Inclusion and things like this. After, when we start with the inclusion, normally we guarantee a tutorship in the first 6 months. Obviously, it's general because in some cases we need more than 6 months, in some cases we need less. The tutorship, it means that we send an educator that is trained by our association to follow the first step of job inclusion. Obviously that this tutor don't teach the work, but help the youngster and the colleagues to be in relation, because the work is taught by the tutor of the company, the colleague that teach the work. But this person stay on the job for the first week, all the week, the second week, only some hours, and go to disappear in 6 months. Normally, we guarantee a monitoring for 2 years. Monitoring, it means that once in the month we call the enterprise to know if all is okay. Sometimes we make some observation over the place or organize some meeting outside of the place with the workers. It depends, but we make a monitoring. At the same time, we guarantee the counseling to employers, workers and their family without limit of time. Obviously that overall in the first year we support the worker in the acquisition of their role. There are some moments in the first year of work that are very important. For example, the first time that you ask for holidays, and you have to understand how many days you can ask or you cannot ask and things like this. The first time that they receive the salary and have to understand in which they want to organize the use of salary and things like this. And so we support the workers in this action. What are the obstacles nowadays in Italy? There are some prejudice of the world of work, and we do continuously some campaign of awareness, and at the same time we have started to make agreements with some company to organize the job inclusion. The agreements can help us because in the same company, for example, we establish some strategy to be included, and the company is spread in the countries, and so we organize the different inclusion. For example, we have signed an agreement with McDonalds, with Fentinelli's shop of book, Deichmann for the shoes, Decathlon is a chain of sport shops, Nespresso is the shop of cafe, Lagardère is a company that has the free shop in the airport. And we have also another agreement with My Chef, that is a chain that have shops on the autoroute and in the airport and other things of this. Obviously that with some chain we have the possibility to make more inclusion. For example, in Decathlon, that is very recent because we signed last year, we have already 5 people contracted, and we have the project for other 10 people in the year.
I was just wondering, do you sign these agreements on the national level with the company?
At the national level, yes.
As an organization?
Yes. Obviously that at the local level we have also other agreements, but these are national agreements that help our branches to select some position in their city. Because, for example, we have signed with Decathlon, and we have discussed with the national responsible of Decathlon which are the shops in the Italy in which we can include. They have written to all the director of the different shop,
Right.
and we establish a strategy to be included with 6 months of tutoring and other instruments to help. Normally, we establish with the company also a way to train the company. For example, for Nespresso,
So you provide support for
Yes,
the company.
yes.
When you start from a completely different position if you sign on the national level because it just basically
Yes,
okay,
yes,
great.
yes. But for example, with some of this company, we have agreed the way of training the manager. For example, with Nespresso, we have organized 1 day of training for the director of the different shop in Italy. Is a normal meeting of the director of the shop, and we dedicated 1 day to the job inclusion, and we make training with them, with movie, instruments and things like this.
I was wondering one more question. If you could share this strategy with us, how you have it in place, you know, as far as training a person and internship and follow-ups, and because it works for you, so it looks
Yes.
like it's a model that we could all use.
Yes, there is a lot. Normally IPD guarantee some activity for job inclusion, that is the training for the all the things that I have shown in our program are activities that IPD organize every year. Okay. Action in the list of the action with the family, with the company, with the workers. We have prepared at the national level the strategy, and we make training for our educator in the branches. For example, this week in Rome, there was a seminar of 5 days for 6 branches that are starting in job inclusion, in which we have trained some educators. We have make an activity of orienting for the youngsters to give also to work with the youngsters. And also we have organized some visit on the workplace to see people that are working and things like this. And so there is a methodology that we have structured. We have published 2 or 3 books about one, in which are described all the action.
In Italian or English?
In Mostly. But also in Turkey one. Because they have translated one in Turkey.
Turkish.
Emmanuel.
Anna, so it's about a 3-year program, let's say, since the beginning that you have the youngster identified and the wheel there to go on the work. So 2 years you follow on the job place, 6 years of...
No, the problem is this one. We have generally the first step to prepare the people to go to in the adult life is our program for the autonomy.
Yes.
That is for the adolescents and the adult.
Yes.
After, when these youngsters stop with the school, they start to be oriented, and so we propose some path to understand what means the role of worker, and in the same time we propose some internship only to train on the job to understand what it means. When one boy, one girl is at the level that they can start with the real job inclusion. Real, it means after the internship we are going to be contracted. We propose him or her to a company or to a shop or what it is to make a job inclusion that is finalized to the assumption. Before we make internship only for training, and after we start with the 6 month finalized to be contract. So normally, if all is okay, after 6 months they are contracted by the company.
Yes.
If they need more time, the internship must be 1 year, and for the Italian law until 2 years. in the same company. But normally we don't arrive to 2 years. It's 6 months at maximum 1 year. And after they be contracted. Obviously in the job inclusion you must be a lot elastic, because sometimes you can find a place in which they have not the obligation, and so they cannot guarantee to assume this person, but they offer you an internship, and we accept always, because at least is a training experience, but probably can change something during the internship. For example, in Feltrinelli was so. We started with internship without finalization of a contract, but at the end of the internship, the colleagues of Feltrinelli write a letter to the general director and say, why you don't assume Luca and Simone that they are our colleagues and they work very well. And so they have decided to contract.
Okay. You mentioned educator as one of the persons, I suppose, that work for this. So there are different phases. It's one with the family, it's one with the adult, the youngster, and with the company. It's one person that it's arranging everything, and if yes, what is...
It depends, because normally if we can, we have a staff with the coordinator that take the relationship with the family and with the enterprise, and the educator that go directly to make the tutoring.
Okay, so
In some branches, in some of our branches that are very small, is the unique person that do all the things.
okay.
It depends from the number of people that you are going to include, and also from the level of the branches. We have worked a lot in the last years about job inclusion. In this moment, we have two projects in Italy in which we are training in this moment 27 branches to work in job inclusion. And so it means action of training for educators, action of training for youngsters, campaign of awareness and things like this. But in the beginning we started with a small situation, after we spread.
And finally, who pays you for this service? The state or?
It depends. We don't have a general contribution for this one. We have financed this one a lot with different projects that are funded sometimes from the government, sometimes from private organization. For example, in this moment we have 3 different different way in which at the national level we are financing this action. 2 are public projects that we have won with different ministers, and 1 is a contribution of a group of private enterprise.
Okay, and families do not pay at all?
No. The family normally participate. It depends from the territory, but normally we ask the family to participate with a small amount in each situation.
Okay.
Is McDonald's a franchise business in Italy?
Yes.
But you still sign a national agreement?
Yes, the McDonald's in Italy has some shops that depends directly from McDonald's, and others that are licensed, franchising. So it's not an agreement as the agreement of Decathlon, that is the same enterprise. In McDonald's is an agreement to sensibilize, so to make an action to inform all the owners that we have had this experience, that the results are good, and so they cannot oblige the franchising.
Right.
But they can offer the experience to the others. And also in some cities there is the same owner that have 3, 4, 5 restaurants. For example, in Rome we have 2 or 3 owners that have more restaurants in Burghi and in McDonald's, and so they use. And also my chef, that is another chain that we have, also have some McDonald's, and so they are Cross.
We tried in McDonald's Germany and it didn't. Nothing happened. They were not willing.
That was in Deichmann.
And also Deichmann, it is a German company. They are not interested in doing chocolate.
We work with Deichmann in Turkey.
It's very strange.
We work in Deichmann in Turkey. We work with Deichmann.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Because in the
McDonald's,
start it used to be-
McDonald's has as a corporation has these social values. I mean, it goes
Yes,
trickles
yes.
down, so it shouldn't be so difficult with them. It
Yes,
seems
okay,
like,
but that's franchising.
It's
I
nice.
know, but it's
No,
like, you know,
yes,
once you
but-
franchise, you're kind of supposed to follow the
Yes,
core
yes.
values of the company.
No, it's true because, for example, I remember that the first time that I worked with McDonald's a lot of years ago, always when they start with the interviews, they show a movie in which there is this concept all over
Right.
the world
Right,
to
exactly.
include all the people that have some problem of disadvantage.
Right.
Okay,
We have to.
I go to go.
But if it's working in Italy, if McDonald's are implementing it successfully in Italy, then those others of us who want to try and implement it in our countries should be able to give the example of Italy and how that's
Yes.
working.
Yes, yes.
Because it's a worldwide company.
Yes.
But I think that is very, very important, the accompanying relation worker company. Because obviously, if you ask only the place, is not enough. If you ask for a job placement, but you guarantee the selection of the candidates and also the activity of tutoring and training the colleagues is different. And so I think that the way we spend a lot of time with our services to explain in which way you have to introduce yourself to the company, because you have to speak the word of the company and to stay in a kind of relation that can say, okay, we can speak about this. And we wanted to, this is, for example, one of the spots that we use. Yes, closed. Sorry. That we use for the company we have shown a lot of place in Italy. This spot.
Ah,
This one.
yeah, that's
Have you
right.
seen this?
Yeah.
Have you distinguished the worker with Down syndrome? We know. You have to assume. Really, there are 7 persons with Down syndrome in the movie, but is a spot that we show continuously on the television and in other places to help us. Another very important activity that we have done in the last years to help the people to understand that it's possible to include people with Down syndrome was this activity, 6 Stars Hotel. What is 6 Stars Hotel? We have worked with television and we have realized a docu experience in 6 episodes. 6 trainees with Down syndrome in a large hotel are filmed by video cameras. It's a real internship. They worked in this hotel, and the television follow them and organize 6 episodes. We have done 2 series, and we have received a lot of success with this activity, because we have had from 500,000 viewers to 1 million, and we have done an agreement with the television, and so in each episode there was an invitation to employers to get in contact with AIPD, and we have received about 100 offers.
Wow.
of job. Obviously, not all these are okay, but we have used a lot of these to make sometimes internship, sometimes real job inclusion. But this movie was very important in the change of the attitude in Italy. Obviously, that we are comparing this movie with a lot of presence on media and social networks. This is our hashtag that we launched for the 1st of May over social media, because we did a campaign to promote the inclusion in the job market of people with Down syndrome. And I wanted to
It's only 5 minutes.
yes, okay. I stop here for AIPD. I want only to speak a little bit about valuable. And if you want other information after, you can ask. What is valuable? There is a small movie that I try to send you. No, I tell you the story, and after I show the movie. We have started with this project with 2 different projects. At the moment, Invaluable, there are 11 partners that are association of people with intellectual disability that providers, association of the area of the hospitality, hotels and one university. 6 countries are involved. In 5 of these countries, the members of the association are members of ETSA. What we
It's
do.
the number of associations on the flag. We see numbers.
No, this is the number of the members of the network of Valuable. Because in some country there is only the association, in some country there is the association, the university, the association of hotel, the hotel and things like this. What we have decided to do, we have selected the hospitality sector, and the idea of this project is to promote the job inclusion in the hospitality sector, because we have seen that is a good place in which we can find a lot of opportunities. And the idea is to organize a big network with different partners and realize a long-lasting partnership between employers and training organizations. In these 2 projects, we have prepared some instruments to sustain this idea. We have organized one app to help the people to work in an autonomous way, 14 videos to train the colleagues of the work, and we make this label and the mark valuable. The app is for the trainee to be more autonomous, and for the colleagues to organize the job in a proper way. I don't speak a lot. If you want, I can explain. In the app is customized for each person, and you can put all the activity that this person has to do in this place of work. For example, if I work in cleaning room, I can organize for you the checklist of all the action that you have to do with the photo, with suggestion and things like this. You can have in the app the agenda of your days of job and things like this, that help the youngster to be more autonomous from the colleagues. The videos that we have realized that at the moment there are already in 7 languages, subtitled English, Spain, Italian, Portuguese, Germany, Turkish and Hungary. Are videos for the most common bad practice and good practices in the relation with the colleagues. Obviously that some of these aspects are the same aspect that you can find also in other kind of job. And so you can use the videos also to train colleagues of another kind of job, because the problem are similar.
Are they available on your website, these videos?
Yes,
And after we have done the trademark, what is the trademark? We give to the enterprise that decided to promote the job inclusion of people with intellectual disability, the trademark of valuable. We give the bronze for the enterprise that accept an internship, the silver to the enterprise that contract at least one person, and the gold to the enterprise that after assumed proposed to other company to assume, became ambassadors. Is not a prize, is an agreement that means that you are involved in this process and you continue to promote job inclusion. So you lose the mark, the trademark after 2 years if you don't continue in the same activity. At the moment we have 107 enterprises that have received the mark in all this country, obviously. And I think it's very, very interesting, this experience. Here there is one of the general manager of one of the hotel, and he said that at first we all tended to reject candidates with intellectual disabilities because we think that is less productive. Now we have seen that the customers, for example, are much more tolerant in case of mistakes of quality oscillation, even when people with intellectual disability are not the responsible of this one. But I wanted to show you, if we have 3 minutes, a small movie that resumes the project. Obviously, I suppose that we speak about this tomorrow. We finish with the project that is financed by Europe next year, but we wanted to follow with this activity, and I think that the activity of Valuable can be spread all over Europe, because obviously we have registered the mark for all Europe. We have already the possibility to use the app in each language, because are the tutor that insert the content for each person, and so we give to the tutor the tutorial that teach how you do, but for the youngsters he read directly in his language, and so we can use the app all over the world in this moment, and we can also extend to other jobs. In this moment we are restyling the app, and the idea is also to add other position role for different jobs to be used in other countries. Obviously we have to find together something to sustain this activity. She is one of the tutors that was involved in the project, and she is described in which way they use the app. She's a colleague of one person in Portugal, and this is responsible of the tutoring of another people that work. This is one of the people that was involved in the... This is the owner of one hotel.
E quindi tutto ciò
He said that the presence of people with intellectual disability makes the hotel more acceptable for all. This is in Spain.
Muchos de mis clientes de manera altruista se han interesado por donde contratar a Raúl.
She's speaking about the customers that asked about this experience. These are our customers, our clients of the hotel.
Evidentemente es una satisfacción, o sea que al fin y al cabo yo sé que esta empresa está colaborando con estas personas y sé que parte de mi dinero que yo genero en esta empresa pues que se va a repercutir en estas personas. La verdad que es algo que lo valoro muy positivamente.
Deberían darles más posibilidades de las que tienen. Espero que cada día tengan más.
Y que las empresas cada día tienen la necesidad de mejores comportamientos, de comportamientos éticos, de comportamientos sociales. Yo creo que todos debemos de creer un poco más en ellos. Bien, eso no sea la complejidad.
Now the results are more because this video is of the last year. Okay, I want only to say other things. In the valuable project, we have offered the possibility to people with intellectual disability of the 6 countries to make internship in another country. That is another experience that we have taken from the experience of AIPD, because we are more than 10 years that organize internship abroad. That is a good experience because help the people not only to understand what means work, but also to become more autonomous, because you work in another country, in another language, and we have found that it's possible. And in the Invaluable, we have offered the possibility to youngsters of each country to make an internship in another country. And this was also a possibility that if we want, as ETSA, we can promote in other situation, and tomorrow, if we have a space, we can discuss in which way we can organize it. Thank you.